Here we go, back again with the first edition of the new and improved Around the Show Sports Podcast. As always, this is your host, Kyle Showalter, and for the first time, I am thrilled to announce that I am joined by Brandon Mills on the left-hand side and Christian Hosfeld on the right. Fellas, I just want to start out by saying thank you both. I appreciate both of your friendships. Brandon and I have known each other since we were freshmen in high school, and Christian and I, the same exact thing. The three of us were freshman baseball teammates. I played football with Brandon as well, and I played baseball with Christian up until we both graduated high school. I can't think of two guys that I would rather have in this room with me right now. I just appreciate both of your guys' friendship so much, and can't thank you guys enough for coming on here and being a part of this, man. It really means a lot to me, and I'm super excited for this, man. I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. I appreciate you giving me the offer to come down here full time and talk sports with you. It's one of our favorite things to do. It's pretty much the only thing we ever talk about when we're talking just side to side. Happy to be here for everyone listening. Again, my name is Brandon Mills. Friends call me B Mills. It's a lot easier to say. Probably not going to agree with 90% of the things I say, and I think that's why Kyle brought me on here. So buckle up, enjoy the ride.
Yeah, so my name is Christian. Kyle gave me a pretty good introduction there. So I'd say sports is the thing that keeps our friendship strong through the years, year in and year out. I mean, life's crazy, but sports are constant, always.
That's right.
Diehard Bears fan, diehard Cubs fan. Thank you, Kyle, for letting me be on here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. Rip to the Chicago stuff, man. That's tough.
Can't believe you let a Bears fan on.
I know. I can't believe I'm friends with a Bears fan.
That's insane.
But I just want to get right into it, man. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, it's Super Bowl week, Super Bowl 56 between the Bengals and the Rams. We got Brandon, our resident Rams fan, in the house. Whose house? Rams house, baby. But before we get into this Super Bowl 56, we got to talk about Tom Brady's sudden retirement, man. When you think of football, I think Tom is the face that a lot of you guys are going to see. You know, you think of what it means to be a football player, what it means to be a winner, what it means to be a competitor. What it means to be a man in all facets of your life. I think Tom Brady is the shining example of a lot of those things. You know, a guy who was a late-round draft pick, fought his way onto the roster, fought his way into the starting lineup, and eventually fought his way into every record book and every history book that'll ever be written about the game that America loves more than anything in the world. Tom Brady is as much of an American hero as he is a football hero. He's a folktale hero. He's probably the closest thing we have to a superhero, and I'm bummed, man. The fact that Tom Brady, who's kind of I grew up in a Patriots fan's house, so I have watched countless times Tom Brady go out there and play on Sundays. I know Mondays and on Thursdays, and win these big games over and over again. And to think that I'm not going to turn the TV on a Sunday and see Tom just decimating some poor kids that have no chance against him, you know, it's a weird thought, you know. And one thing that I really want to focus on with Tom, and I think it's something that's so special about him because it's not something that we've seen a lot of guys do, is Tom was the villain of the league for a really long time. You know, he was the guy who we all respected because of the winning, but there was always an excuse. People wanted to take away from Tom Brady's greatness. You know, he's a system guy. He checks down nonstop. He doesn't have the great arm. But it's never mattered. You know, he went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl, and then he went out and won another couple of them. I mean, he's just an incredible competitor and winner. And I'm not one who typically puts a lot of weight into quarterback wins and team success and individual player evaluation, but Tom is the exception to the rule, I think. I think it's impossible to talk about Tom Brady and not talk about the rings and the wins, just like it's impossible to talk about Michael Jordan and not talk about those things because they're so ingrained together. You know, if there's ever been somebody you could compare to Michael Jordan in football, I think it has to be Tom Brady. I think there hasn't been a competitor in a team sport like Michael Jordan outside of Tom Brady maybe ever. He's just such a special competitor and football player, and it just is really sad, you know. But I definitely know that I can send him off knowing that he has all the respect in the world, and obviously he demands all that respect in the world, and he should get it from everybody. I think Tom Brady's probably going to be retiring as one of the most beloved football players of all time, as well as probably the greatest football player of all time.
Yep.
Obviously the greatest quarterback of all time.
No question.
And I think having the belovedness and the greatness attached to one another is so rare. And I think it just speaks to who Tom Brady is and the fact that we kind of came around to him later in his career. At the beginning, you know, not a lot of people were really loving on Tom Brady because of the Deflategate and the Spygate stuff. But I'm just kind of glad that as a collective fandom in terms of NFL fans, we've moved past that and have really been able to embrace Tom Brady at the end of his career. Because I think if we hadn't, it would have been a real tragedy if we would have came to this time and there were people saying negative things about him, but I don't think I saw a single negative thing about him this entire news cycle. It was a huge love fest for him.
That's all he deserves. If anybody still gives Tom Brady hate, they're out of their damn mind and they're in denial. I mean, that's all it is. We touched on it before when he came back from that 28-3 deficit in the Super Bowl. I mean, that right there told me that's the last time I'm ever going to bet against Tom Brady. So if anyone's sitting at home today still finding a reason to talk down on who Tom Brady is, what he's done, they're in denial. And you just can't really accept that. I mean, Tom Brady is who he is, not because he says he is, but because what's on paper and what he's done. And, I think the league's really going to miss him. Much deserved retirement. He's been a part of the NFL since I could comprehend what football even was, So he deserves it. He deserves a ride off on top. And I'm very happy his last game came against my LA Rams, and he took that L home.
What a game that was, though, man. So close to just another. And I think that's a great way to send Tom Brady off, is with a vintage Tom Brady win.
Yeah.
Or not a win because he didn't come out on top, but that was the ecstasy of watching Tom Brady play, was that second half. It was unbelievable. And if there wasn't just a horribly blown coverage and Cooper Kupp catching that bomb that led to the game-winning field goal, we're having a different conversation. Exactly. Maybe it's Tom going and winning this Super Bowl and retiring like Peyton Manning did. And so that would have felt a lot more of like a storybook ending. But Tom Brady's already had such a storybook career, it's hard to ask for.
How many more pages are we going to add to this damn book,
Just kind of piggybacking what you guys were talking about. Tom Brady, he's been a quarterback since 2001 or 2. Do you know who the president was in 2001 or 2? George W. Bush.
George W. Bush.
George W. Bush. So he's been playing football, and he's been winning since George W. Bush. That's why he's generated so much hatred, so many people rooting against him. He's been a winner since George W. Bush. He was a quarterback before the first iPhone came out. Just let that sink in. And so I keep thinking about a quote where it's, when do you realize the good times before the good times are gone?
You don't.
And so, like, I can't even comprehend a football game, or a football season, rather, without Tom Brady.
Yeah, it really is a crazy thing. I mean, I was 4 years old when Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl, and in 2001 against the greatest show on turf against those Rams, which, hey, I got to talk about it, Brandon. I'm sorry, but I mean, I'm 24 years old now. Like I've grown my entire life watching Tom Brady play on Sundays, and I was actually having this conversation with somebody at work today. I don't know a football world without Tom Brady being quarterback, and as exciting as it is to watch these young guys, I think we'll always be nostalgic, just like our folks were and their folks before them, about the guys that they play. You talk about the guys that watch basketball in the 90s and how much they love Michael and John Stockton and all those guys. I think that's how we'll probably talk about Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and even Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger and those guys. We're graduating into a new class, obviously, with Tom retiring. Drew Brees is in that conversation as well, obviously. And we got the Mahomes and the Josh Allens and the Justin Herberts and all those guys now. But I don't think we'll ever get another one like Tom, man. I don't know if it's possible in this sport with the amount of parity and how hard that it is to win championships. To see another guy do what Tom did, I just don't think it's I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's likely if it's even possible.
I agree with you. What he did has been so unmatched, and it's easy to say that it's impossible for it to ever happen again, and who knows? I don't foresee it. Tom Brady's just something special, and it's a shame that it took me 18 dang years to understand it. But I appreciate who he was for the league, who he was for us fans, and who he is as a person. Tom freaking Brady.
I don't think there's a better way to say it, man. Tom freaking Brady. Yeah, he's that dude.
We finally get to turn the page in our book where we turn to the kids and say, oh, back in my day, you didn't get to see this guy play. Yeah. There's going to be people who never got to see Tom Brady play football, and that right there is crazy to me because I've never seen anything other than Tom Brady in the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's
going to look different.
To wrap it up, I think the thing that I want to say most to Tom Brady is just thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be witness to what it means to be a competitor above all else, to be a perpetual winner, to be a man of his word and just work and work and work. It's truly an incredible thing, and I I think all of us are just appreciative and grateful that we got to watch Tom Brady be Tom Brady for as long as we did. Hats off and salute to you, brother. Wish him nothing but success. I'm sure he will do nothing but continue to print money and be super successful in whatever he wants to do, because that's just who he is. But we will. We're going to go ahead and roll in and start talking about Super Bowl 56 now. And I think we got to start. We'll just talk a little bit about each team. We'll start with the Rams. And they had a little bit of a weird season. Brandon, obviously a Rams fan. You probably watched more Rams snaps than any of us did.
Sure did.
But just the Rams, for the longest time, it just felt like they couldn't close against good teams. You know, they would hang in with them and just couldn't close out. I remember the game against the Bucs earlier in the year. They obviously came back and avenged that, but it was tough for a while. You know, the Rams kind of had their reputation of beating up on bad teams and losing to good teams.
Yeah.
And definitely in the playoffs, they've been a powerhouse. You know, the second half against the Buccaneers wasn't perfect, but that game, the game they played against the 49ers, that was outside of the fourth quarter with about 10 minutes left when they started botching everything imaginable with the clock. That was just a very good overall game from the Rams. Offense and defense both played well. Cooper Kupp is a monster. Doesn't make any sense. Just like,
who'd have known?
I mean,
I knew the guy was good.
Yeah, we knew he could ball when he was next to Bob Woods out there. You know, Robert Woods, a damn good football player, damn good wide receiver. But with him out and all of the load being on Cooper Kupp, he's really been a stud, man. I can't say enough good things about him. The route running, the prowess, the Triple Crown winner for this year with Odell Beckham Jr. on his team for 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever it was. He's just been an incredible football player. Yeah. He is the weapon for them. He's going to be a huge part in the game on Sunday.
Yeah,
sure.
I'll take it back to even before the season started and before we know what and who the Rams were, before we had OBJ, before Cam Akers came back off the Achilles. It was just over a year ago exactly. I was sitting in Temecula with my buddy Weston. We were just hanging out outside, enjoying the fresh air, and he gets an alert on his phone, and he looks at me. He goes, "The Rams just traded for Matt Stafford." And the first thing I said, I'll be honest, I'll say it out loud on the record. The first thing I said is, how are we going to win a football game with that guy at our quarterback? You know how long it took me to realize what we did was right?
Probably week one.
One fucking week. 1 week it took for me to realize that this guy is the real deal and he can take us to a Super Bowl. Started off the season 3-0, looked promising. Then we dropped one in very, very ugly fashion to AZ at home. It was embarrassing. Then we came back strong, won, I think, like, what was it, four in a row? Yeah, and then we lost 3 straight. So, like you said, the Rams didn't look particularly amazing during the full outlook of the season, but when they were good, they were damn good. And that's what got them to where they are today.
Yeah, and I think what you talk about Stafford, I've been a huge Stafford guy for years and years. I've never thought he was the issue in Detroit. And when they traded for Stafford, the Rams did, I made a TikTok that second. I went into my truck, recorded a TikTok, talked about how this is the move Sean McVay and the Rams needed to make. He's phenomenal. You know, he has all of the talent of a guy like a Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, those kind of guys, the young cats I'm going to be comparing him to now instead of the older guys, just like we were talking about. Yeah. Super, super weird, man.
Insane.
But he's just a guy with a supreme amount of arm talent. He's been in every situation. He actually has so he's up there in terms of the most fourth quarter comebacks of all time. He's been in every situation imaginable. He plays through injuries, tough son of a bitch. Stafford is just an incredible quarterback all around, and to get him in with those playmakers and that offensive line, Andrew Whitworth, 40 years old out there at left tackle for the Rams.
I mean, come on.
It was just a great fit, and I'm not surprised at all to see them in this big game. If Jared Goff could have got him there 3 years ago, then we knew Stafford could do this. It's just awesome to see Stafford actually having that success after so many years of putrid rosters around him in Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, kind of piggybacking off that, I mean, me being a Bears fan, I got to watch firsthand Stafford on the Lions, and I always knew that guy is a good quarterback. Like, he's top tier quarterback, and it's just the Lions being the Lions. I mean, I remember specifically a game where Stafford threw out his shoulder. He came back in for the 2-point conversion and threw a 2-point conversion to convert that 2-point conversion. Just insane. And then I also wanted to piggyback too. The beginning of the season. Do you remember any sports show you turned on? The Rams were the favorite. The Rams, by far, were like the favorite going into the season. Week 4 or 5, no one knew what the hell the Rams were. I mean, Stafford throwing just completely unacceptable picks, just heaving it up there for someone to pick off. And then somewhere towards the end of the season, you still really didn't know what they truly were. I mean, so I just kind of wanted to summarize the whole thing. What a wild ride it's kind of been for the Rams, where they were number one going into the season, somewhere in the middle where everyone kind of knocked them off their tier list, and now here we are at the Super Bowl. And yeah, Rams.
I think it just goes to show it's whoever gets hot at the right time. I think we'll talk about the Bengals in a little bit, but I mean, they're a team that nobody saw coming in the beginning of the year. And like you said, the Rams were a lot of people's team out of the NFC going out. It was a lot of Packers, a lot of Rams, a lot of those guys. But not a lot of Bengals. But we will talk about that in just a little bit. But yeah, man, I mean, Stafford definitely still makes some questionable decisions. I mean, we know the dropped interception against San Francisco.
I was going to bring that up real quick.
If he hauls that in, we're talking about San Francisco playing in the Super Bowl.
There's absolutely no question. I don't know the guy's name, number 3 on San Francisco. If he catches that football, we're not sitting here talking about LA and Cincinnati. Like you said, we're talking about San Francisco in the Super Bowl. So Stafford does still do questionable things, but I like his confidence a lot more than what people give him credit for. Yeah, they call him stupid, but he's got the right idea and he's got the game plan, and they've been following that. And like you said, it's about a team that gets hot at the right time. But see, I don't think the Rams are necessarily a team that got hot at the right time. I just think they had the right script. They followed the script. They had some lows, but their lows were never too low to not come back from. They always had their eye on the prize. They always had the light at the end of the tunnel. And here they are now, following the script, staying to what they wanted to the whole season. Yeah. And I think it's real important that we touch on Matt Stafford's success is great, yes, but we finally got that man some help around him. Got him excellent receivers, got him a defense to back him up when he's off the field. I mean, he's got a team around him right now, a team of superstars. And in my opinion, I do not see anybody beating this team on Sunday.
Yeah, I think the getting hot at the right time kind of comes with a little bit of a negative connotation that they're not necessarily a great team. They deserve to be in this spot. They're talented enough to be in this spot. Maybe the right way to say it is everything's clicking at the right time for them. Everyone's playing their best football at the right time. Outside of the Mike Evans burning him, Jalen Ramsey has been the best corner in football by far this season.
No question.
Aaron Donald has been Aaron Donald. The numbers aren't necessarily this year, but turn the film on and watch Aaron Donald, man. You know what you're getting. Stafford's been great. Odell Beckham Jr. has done nothing but be successful since he came to LA. Hasn't made a peep. Go figure. The problem was never Odell. Cup has been amazing. They've gotten production everywhere. It's just a lot of things seem to be going right. A lot of talented players are playing like talented players at the right time.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll say before I move on to the Bengals is Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are like an arranged marriage, but they're two people that didn't know they needed each other until they ended up in the same room. Sean McVay was tied to a quarterback that he never wanted to be with. Matthew Stafford did everything he could to make it work in Detroit. It was just never going to happen. They both needed a change of scenery in terms of who was in the building with them. Put them together. Go figure. They're in the Super Bowl. You put a great quarterback on a good roster with an incredible coach. Good things happen. Who knows, man? On Sunday, we might be talking about Matthew Stafford being a Super Bowl champion after watching him be miserable in Detroit for over a decade. I don't know if I've ever been happier for another human being than I am for Matthew Stafford right now, man. It's really been awesome to just watch him, take the reins and really run with it. There were a lot of people that were saying, maybe the problem is Stafford. I think they're crazy. I thought they were crazy then. Obviously, hindsight 2020. He's an incredible player, and he deserves to be in the spot that he's in. And talking about incredible players, man, let's just talk about Joe Shiesty, man. Joe Burrow this year. Talk about a guy taking a leap in the second season, and we've seen it year over year. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Carson Wentz before he kind of fell off the cliff. That 2017 season for the Eagles, he was incredible.
Yep.
That sophomore jump that we see from quarterbacks, Joe Burrow has definitely taken that. And he's a guy who kind of perplexes me a lot. I heard in the pre-draft process, and I remember reading this. It was a tweet from some guy who I can't remember the name of, but it was like a high-level football media guy. With a scouting background. And he said something along the lines of Joe Burrow reminded him of a certain quarterback, played in the Northeast, played in a lot of snow. Him and his head coach didn't get along too well. He just retired this last offseason. Talking about Tom Brady.
Are you comparing Joe Burrow to Tom Brady right now?
So I'm not.
Okay, I was going to say.
I think I think there's something to be said about Joe Burrow and the way that he carries himself on the football field. We talk about what makes Tom successful. It was never the arm, right? It was always the moxie and the mental makeup and the ability to make the right decision at all times. Now, Joe Burrow, I'm not saying he's Tom Brady. We'll calm down on that for now at least. But the guy does the right thing almost every single time. And where I see the biggest connection between these two guys, and I think it's the reason why the Bengals have had so much success, is if you watch Tom Brady in the pocket, he is a maestro in terms of how he moves around. He always finds the crease in the pocket that allows him to deliver a good ball. Joe Burrow does that better than anybody in the league right now. And that includes Tom when he was still playing. Like I've never seen a guy avoid pressure in the pocket like Joe Burrow has outside of Tom. It is remarkable. And with that offensive line, which is obviously their biggest weakness, he has made the Bengals go from a 2-win team one year, a 4-win team the next year, to who they are this year in the damn big game. Yep. It is remarkable what Joe Burrow has done. They brought Jamar Chase in. T. Higgins has taken a leap in year 2 also. But this has been Joe Burrow's show. It's 100%. It's incredible, man.
And I'll touch on that too. The way you said he is in the pocket, his pocket presence is absolutely unbelievable. And remind me again, what year is this guy right now? Year 2. Oh my goodness. How do you have that great pocket presence year 2? Being able to read defenses like that, if you give the guy more than 3 seconds, someone's getting the ball. If someone's completing the ball, you're getting at least 5 yards out of the play.
Especially with those playmakers they got.
It's absolutely unbelievable what he's able to do with the pressure he's had to face all season. Like you said, his O-line is not.
They're bad.
It's objective. I don't want to say they're bad because they're in the Super Bowl.
There's no metric that makes the O-line look good. It's Joe Burrow being able to dance in the pocket, make dudes miss, and find someone open down the field. Generally, it's Jamar Chase, and you see a lot of these plays where Jamar's catching some 50-yard touchdown. It's Joe Burrow dancing around in the pocket, making some fool look silly, and then just delivering a bomb to Jamar Chase, who gets open eventually.
All right, so let me ask you this. Awesome. Let me ask you this. What happens when and if Jalen Ramsey shuts down Jamar Chase? What are we looking at as a Bengals offense? Are they going to be able to move the ball? Are they going to be able to improvise?
Higgins, man. Okay. He is a ball player. He's nasty. I mean, we talk a lot about Jamar Chase, and I'm on record. Jamar Chase's rookie season, I think he's at worst the 5th best receiver in the league at this point. Just what he's shown this year, the talent has always been obvious. The production is incredible, obviously. But T. Higgins, man, he's a wide receiver 1. At least a 1B on a lot of teams, man. He can play. They got Tyler Boyd out there too. CJ Uzomah ripped the knee brace off at the press conference. He ripped the knee brace off. He seems like he might have a chance at playing. Okay. I don't know for sure which way it's going to go, whether he plays or not. But there's plenty of playmakers on that team. They got Joe Mixon out of the backfield. He can catch the football. He can run with the best of them. Go Sooners. Fight on.
Sooner, baby.
USC. Shout out Lincoln Riley. But, I mean, there's just playmakers all over that offense. If they take Jamar Chase out of the equation, I don't think there's going to be – obviously there's going to be a hit, but I don't think it'll completely take their offense out. And the Rams do play a particularly large amount of zone. So I don't know how much really Ramsey will be matched up at one-on-one. Now, I do think he'll follow him sideline to sideline, but I just don't know how much they'll necessarily be matched up man-to-man. I think they play I looked at the stat earlier this week. According to PFF, they play the second least amount of man in the NFL, and they're first in terms of the frequency that they play cover 3. So they're going to be playing a lot of zone in the Super Bowl, I'm assuming. Now, they could go tendency breaker and change that up.
I think they're going to have to because we were just talking about how good Joe Burrow is at picking apart defenses. And if you want to run a zone the whole time, you're going to need to mix some things up.
Yeah, and I mean, Joe Burrow also decimates the blitz. He was the top-ranked passer on PFF, Pro Football Focus, against the blitz this year after being the 31st ranked quarterback last year. Just an incredible leap from the guy. I mean, it's really hard to quantify with statistics or try to put it into words. He just has it. You know, when we talk about, we've been gushing over Mahomes and Josh Allen for years now, right? I think Burrow has earned his place.
He's in that conversation. Yeah, if not at the top of the conversation. Yeah, I'll say that straight to the camera. I think Joe Burrow is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes is. I said it there.
That's a little hot for me, man. But he's in the conversation. There's certainly a case to be made that he could be considered the top quarterback in the league at this point. I mean, it's could be a one-year wonder. You know, we've seen it happen before. We talk about
that would break my heart because I'd have to come back to this video and right my wrongs.
You know we will.
Yeah.
I mean, we think back real quick, Christian, before you hop in.
Yep.
We think back to a team in 2016, I believe it was, the Jacksonville Jaguars made it to the AFC Championship game, ended up losing to the eventual world champion Patriots, and Tom Brady, may his football career rest in peace. But then they completely fell off a cliff again. I mean, the Bengals don't have a track record of proven success. They don't even have a full scouting department. The front office is kind of doesn't have a very great reputation. They don't have an indoor practice facility in the state of Ohio, which I learned on the Pat McAfee show, which he never stops talking about, which is fantastic. But there's not a lot in terms of like structure and people that have been there before to make me believe that, this could be, I shouldn't say that because they have so many talented players, but in terms of, the confidence level that I have, it's not as high as somebody like the Chiefs or the Bills who have the coach and they have the front office and they have the personnel around the quarterback. This is a lot of talented football players. A lot of talented football players early on in their careers on cheap contracts. How are they going to build this thing for 10 years down the road? I think that's definitely something to watch going forward. Yeah. But for now, man, let's just enjoy Joe Shiesty and Jamar Chase and all these guys. I want to see a bomb and a gritty in the Super Bowl, man. I think that'd be awesome.
Well, I'll be hitting my gritty every time the Rams score a touchdown. You better believe that.
So let the record state that Kyle Showalter and Brandon Mills, Kyle has him equal to Tom Brady and Brandon has him above Patrick Mahomes.
Out of context is the absolute greatest thing that's ever happened, man. That the internet lives on forever. We talked about that before the show, man.
All right, but I'll bounce back to the Bengals here, and if we look at them on paper, take the playoff run out, take the fact that they're out of the Super Bowl or that they're in the Super Bowl, take that out. 10-7 football team. Started off the season 3-2. Had some questionable losses early in the season. For a long time, they were kind of looking like, okay, this is a better Cincinnati. They're playing better football. We're not going to pay any attention to you right now. You're the Cincinnati Bengals. And they've always stuck around just a little bit. They've always been hanging on just to be in the conversation just a little bit. Fought their way into the playoffs. Dogfight for 3 games. And look at where they're at now. I mean, you don't automatically assume a 10-7 football team is going to make its way to the Super Bowl with all those tough contenders in the AFC. I mean, were the Bengals your top team to go to the Super Bowl at the start of the playoffs?
Of course not.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, everybody has counted the Bengals out all season. And I bet a lot of people are doing it now. Maybe some people are turning around. I'm sure not. I don't know. I think they play better with a little fire under their ass. Seems to be that way.
They have that personality as a team, I think. And I think that comes a lot from Joe Burrow. I had a conversation with one of my good friends, a friend of the show, Casey Proctor. He's come on after last year's Super Bowl. Played baseball with him in college. Just an absolute great dude, but a diehard Chiefs fan. And he wrote a piece for Fansided that was titled Dynasty versus Destiny, talking about the dynasty of the Kansas City Chiefs and the team of destiny of the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think that's the perfect moniker for these guys, is they really feel like the team of destiny. 2 wins one year, 4 wins the next, into the Super Bowl the next year. Everybody loves their quarterback. Everybody loves their wide receiver room. They're a fun team that everybody seems to grab onto. I think a lot of it has to do with the youth. Back on the other end of some technical difficulties, we're just going to keep jumping right in with the Super Bowl 56 talk. Rams, Bengals, and I think we hit on it a little bit earlier, but this Bengals offense against the Rams defense is kind of the matchup that I'm personally going to be watching a lot of, and in particular, it's going to be that pass rush of the Rams against the Bengals offensive line and Joe Burrow's ability to make things happen inside of that pocket. I think this is probably going to be where the game is won and lost. You think back to the Tennessee game where Joe Burrow was sacked a playoff record 9 times. Last week, he was actually pressured 42% of the time against the Chiefs, which is just about as high as the number was against Tennessee. But they only came away with 1 sack, and obviously Cincinnati was able to come out on top. Now, obviously, they came out on top against Cincinnati too, but that was a particularly strong defensive game for them. The Rams are going to score points. The Bengals are going to need to be able to do it too. So I think a lot of this is going to come down to how much Joe Burrow's able to stay on his feet, move around in the pocket, and deliver strikes downfield. And I think it's a pretty obvious statement. A lot of guys you can say that about. But it feels particularly true about these guys and this team with that quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, like we were just talking about his pocket presence, I think this is going to be his biggest test yet. And I mean, what better for a bigger test than in the biggest game of your life so far? I think that front seven for the Rams, it's just going to be a little too difficult to overcome. I don't think the O-line is experienced enough or particularly strong enough to handle what the Rams are going to bring defensively. You got to remember, Aaron Donald requires 2 O-linemen at a time, just himself. So I think Joe's going to have to be really shiesty if he wants to pull this one off against the Rams defense, man. Those guys are good, and they have a mission they want to accomplish. They're not done yet. Von Miller, he wants that Super Bowl. I know Jalen Ramsey wants that damn Super Bowl, and Aaron Donald is hungry, so he was
open about it too.
Oh, yeah.
After the game. He was open about going back, man. He's excited. The Rams are going to come ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, you remember how good Aaron played in the last Super Bowl, so he wants to get back and have some offensive freaking help this time, or score more than 3 points in the Super Bowl, please. But yeah, he's fired up. That makes me fired up as a fan, and I'm just ready to see where it goes. And I'm really happy for the Bengals. What they've done. I've been rooting for them the whole time in the playoffs, but that has to cut short. I'm sorry, Joe Shiesty. I'm sorry, Joe Mixon. Everybody over there in Cincinnati, I love what they have going on, but I am loyal to my Rams, and I hope we take away that ring.
Yeah, I'm curious. Obviously, as a Rams fan, I'm assuming you're going to roll with them to win, but I'm curious. Are you picking the Rams this week?
100% backing the Rams all day, every day. I think the Rams are going to win by 2 scores, in my opinion. We can argue about that later. I do think the Rams, they're just too strong for the Bengals. And you can say that about every team the Bengals have played, so I could easily be wrong. I could easily be contradicting myself. But all bias aside, all biased opinions, no fan speaking here. I think the Rams just have a head of steam. They have a plan. Like I said, they have something they want to accomplish, and nothing's going to stop them this season. I really don't think so.
Yeah, I think the only 2 ways I see this game going is absolute blowout by the Rams, and they beat the Bengals by 20. Or the only way I see the Bengals winning is by 3, and it's an absolute shootout.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matchup of 2 teams who are peaking at the right time, playing their best football at the end of the year. We couldn't have asked for a better matchup. I think in terms of the time of the year, these are the 2 best football teams on February 9th, 2022, the time of our recording. These are the best 2 football teams that are playing right now.
Yep.
Towards the end of the year, they both hit their peaks. They came on really strong. I don't think we could have asked for a better matchup on Sunday, and I'm super excited. I think it comes down to talent at the end of the day. We talk all about X's and O's, and we can talk all about coaching and culture fit and things like that. Not having an indoor practice facility in Ohio, we could talk about that too. But at the end of the day, one team has Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Odell Beckham Jr., Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Von Miller, all these guys, and the other one just doesn't. At the end of the day, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. And I think the Rams are just going to make more plays than Bengals are because I just think they're more talented.
But doesn't that kind of set the stage perfectly for an upset? Like the same way Eagles. I mean, they were the dogs. No one expected them to get to the Super Bowl, and then they make it to the Super Bowl, and everyone's counting them out the same way.
Sure, and I mean, we can even make that parallel even stronger by talking about Carson Wentz was in his 2nd year that season. Granted, he's not the guy who played in the Super Bowl. They had a young, unproven head coach. The defense played really strong kind of out of nowhere that season. I mean, there's a lot of parallels, and I've even spoken to my dad about this, between the 2017 Eagles and the 2022 Bengals. So, I mean, you want to talk about Team of Destiny, that was definitely the Eagles in 2017, and I could definitely see it rolling that way and the Bengals winning. But at the end of the day, you got to make a prediction off of things that are tangible. That's just the way that my brain operates. You guys both know I'm a big analytics guy in just about everything.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I just think the Rams are too talented in comparison to the Bengals. I think they're better coached than them as well. Without even getting into that, I think Sean McVay has proven himself to be one of the best head coaches in the NFL. The clock management stuff is obvious. I mean, running out of timeouts with 10 minutes left in the 4th quarter of the NFC Championship game is inexcusable, especially against a division rival. You've played them for the 3rd time that year. That kind of stuff just can't happen. But I mean, in terms of X's and O's, drawing up plays, McVay has proven himself to be one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL. Without even going into the coaching stuff, I just think the Rams have too much talent. I think it's not going to be a sizable victory. I think it'll be a close game. I would pick the Bengals to cover, personally. But I think at the end of the day, the Rams are going to come out on top on this one.
Yeah, I mean, we could sit here and talk about our predictions all day, but why don't we go ahead and put our money where our picks are? The Bengals are opening up at a plus 4.5 line. Me personally, I hate the number 4.5 when we're talking about football game. But that's what it is. Opposite side, Rams -0.5. If you're looking to bet the spread, me personally, I like the Rams 4.5. If you want to get comfortable with it, you can go ahead and buy the hook. That'd be advisable. But I want to kick that 4.5 all the way off the table and talk to you about an alternate line. Rams -6.5 at plus 110. I think that has good value, and I think it's very doable, as I think the Rams are going to probably win this game by 10 points or more. If you're looking for a fun, juicy bet, first touchdown scorer, I got two guys in mind, one on each team. One's kind of a dark horse, but we'll start off with the obvious. Cincinnati Bengals. If you think they're going to score the first touchdown, I'd put my money on Jamar Chase, obviously. That's opening up at, what was it here? Plus 650, so that's pretty good odds. But my dark horse to score the very first touchdown, and I think it's actually going to happen, is Tyler Higbee at plus 1,200. I think the Rams are going to
1,200,
plus 1,200, yeah.
For the big fella.
For the big guy. And I think it's kind of ludicrous just bringing what Tyler Higbee can bring to that offensive within the red zone. I think it's going to be a nice long drive. If they get the ball first, it's going to be a nice long drive it down into the red zone within the 10-yard line, bounce him out on a pick route, score a touchdown. That's just me living in a perfect world and hoping my bet cashes. But nonetheless, it's going to be a very fun game. If you think the Rams are going to win, I wouldn't take that money line bet. There's just no value there. Other than that, be responsible, have fun, and go Rams.
So I kind of wanted to talk about my pick. So, Kyle, you kind of mentioned Rams are the more talented team, to which I want to throw it back to you. Who do you think is more talented, Chiefs or Rams?
I would probably argue the Chiefs are more talented between the big three on offense. They got Tyrann Mathieu out there on defense. In terms of the way the talent is spread out, definitely the Rams are more talented. They have more talented players, but the top heaviness of the Chiefs is what would probably set that off.
That's kind of why I feel like it just feels more than anything tangible evidence-wise, because the Rams are just more talented, flat out. But the Bengals, they beat the Chiefs. I mean, that's the juggernaut of the league.
The Chiefs took a dump in the second half. Let's not forget.
It just feels like something's going on here. Where
the Rams also took a dump in the second half against the Bucs.
The Rams tried to lose.
They won the game.
They really tried. They really did. I mean, so I feel like the easy answer here, and Vegas agrees too, is Rams are the heavy favorite here. But you know what? I'll go with the Bengals winning, but I'm gonna stick to my guns here. Last second field goal. I think the storybook ending with their kicker, who they drafted, who just calls a game before he even goes out there to kick. I think he gets it done.
Shout out Evan McPherson, man. That guy's ice cold.
Touching on that a little bit, I remember not against KC, but against Tennessee. He's going out to kick the game-winning kick, and he's just sitting out there waiting for the snap. He leans back a little bit. Oh, I guess we're going to the AFC Championship.
That rookie kicker, man.
That is
line that bitch up.
Line that bitch up. That's a rookie kicker, man. Yeah. I think that it just perfectly encapsulates that whole team's personality, dude. They're saying, "Come get us." They're not waiting for anybody. They're taking the fight to everyone. I think in terms of underdogs, the Rams are obviously a heavy favorite, but it feels like anyone's game. I'm betting on the talent. I really do think the Rams are going to win, but if the Bengals do, I won't be surprised. And I also want to put it out there. I'm predicting the Rams are going to win, but I'm actively rooting for the Bengals on Sunday. I'm sorry, Brandon. Brandon's going to be here watching the game with us on Sunday. But it is going to be a really fun football game, and I can't wait for it, man. Well, we've talked enough about it. All that's really left to do is turn the TV on Sunday, eat some good food with some good people, and enjoy. Wrapping up the first ever episode of the Around the Show Sports Podcast. I just want to thank you guys again.
Thank you, man.
This has been everything and more of what I imagined it. So much fun to talk football with you guys. I look forward to talking about so much more over the coming months. And this partnership is I'm just happy that you guys are here, man. I really do appreciate the both of you.
Glad we finally got it rolling. Thanks to anyone who listens. Stick around. Keep listening to us. We're going to start giving some giveaways. We're going to be doing a lot of things. You just stick around, hang tight, go for the ride.